Today, when I was working up a case of someone with a lipoprotein A that's elevated, I noticed that on the first test, the first test that we tested it, the test that we used measured it in milligrams per deciliter, and then the reeval test that we performed measured it in nanomoles per liter. Okay, and in this example, the person on the first test, the person's result was lab high at 113 milligrams per deciliter. Okay, and anything above 30 is not good. Okay, so that's lab high. And on the retest, it was 236 nanomoles per liter. So before you think about it, you're like, oh my gosh, this person's worse. So I've become worse. So what I'm doing isn't working. But you have to know that if you're looking at nanomoles per liter compared to milligrams per deciliter, you're not comparing apples to apples. You're comparing apples to watermelons, say. So before we can know if a person is improving or worsening, we have to first make the units the same. Okay, we have to either convert milligrams per deciliter to nanomoles per liter, or we have to convert nanomoles per liter to milligrams per deciliter. Okay, because that takes us from apples to watermelons to apples to apples. So we can do it both ways. And specific to this marker only, okay, specific to lipoprotein A, the conversion is different than if you're measuring something else, a different marker. Okay, so it's not always the same math with different markers. So if you're trying to do that, you want to make sure you're doing the right conversion for the right marker. So when we're looking at lipoprotein A, if you have 113 milligrams per deciliter and you're trying to convert that, all right, to nanomoles per liter, you have to multiply times 2.18, or that's what this study here is saying. This study, if you read it, the math comes out to make the conversion, you have to multiply times 2.18. So when you do that, the 113 times 2.18 comes out to 246.34. 246.3, we'll call it, okay? Or if we take the 236 nanomoles, excuse me here one second. We get the 236 nanomoles per liter, we'll just do that, and we want to convert it over to milligrams per deciliter. We have to, what? Math whizzes out there. You're right, divide by 2.18, okay? And that gives us an answer of 108 milligrams per deciliter. So now that we've done that, we can compare apples to apples either way, okay? Green would be our milligrams per deciliter, blue would be our nanomoles per liter, excuse me. And so having made that conversion, we can now see that the person has improved. Okay, they've gone from 246 to 236 nanomoles per liter, or they've gone from 113 to 108 milligrams per deciliter. So the person is improving. The strategy that's being implemented is working. So that's good. That's step one, to understand that. And then step two would be to ask the question, well, is it working fast enough or fast enough or intense enough? Can we drop it faster, more significantly? Because remember, below 30 milligrams per deciliter is normal, okay? So if we're making change, we're seeing that we can change it. We've dropped it 5 points from a milligram per deciliter standpoint, but we want to get below 30. So this would suggest that we probably want to, if possible in the person, all things considered, we probably want to ramp up, say, the dosing of the substance we're using or the intensity of the lifestyle changes we're making to get there faster. So I wanted to present this real life case to you because as a layperson, you don't always pay attention to units on the numbers on your testing. But if there's a difference in how the units are reported one test to another, you might get the false, sense that you're failing, right? Like if we hadn't looked at the units up here, then it's over 100% worse, right? So how you interpret and understand what you're doing, whether it's working or not, totally depends on if you're comparing apples to apples. So always compare apples to apples when looking at your test results so that you can know that the results are actually trustworthy and reliable compared to your previous test. And then you can make the best clinical decisions on how you should continue to move forward based on that.